Hi there, I'm Rosie Wesley.
And I'm Stephanie Beams.
And we're both associates in the commercial IP and tech team at Travers Smith. In this recording, we're going to set out the measures that you can take if your organisation is faced with a third party engaging in cybersquatting or setting up a copycat website. Cybersquatting is an issue that we see clients increasingly facing across a range of sectors and industries. Examples of the type of third-party infringement you could face and that this guidance is aimed at includes a third party setting up a website with a domain name that is identical or confusingly similar to your website, trading name or registered trademark, a third party reproducing content from your website, which could amount to copyright infringement, or using your logo or registered trademark on their own website, or a third party mimicking your website such that their website looks like it might be run by your organisation. Unlike in the US, there are no specific statutes in the UK that deal with these problems. However, you may still be able to take action against third parties engaging in this type of behaviour, as this type of behaviour could either constitute an infringement of your trademark rights, constitute copyright infringement where the third party has reproduced content from your website, or constitute a breach of database rights, for example, in respect of rights you have to any mailing lists or customer lists, or copyright infringement where the third party has scraped content or data from your website. In this recording, we set out the practical steps you can take if you are faced with this issue. Please note that the guidance in this presentation assumes that the infringing website uses a UK-based domain name, so that's .co.uk or a .uk address. Different steps and local legal advice may be required in the event that the infringing website is based in another jurisdiction. In addition, before you take any further steps, and even if possible, before you go to the infringing website on your internal computer systems, you might consider contacting your IT team to first check it for security issues. It may be prudent to only access the website from a computer or laptop which is not connected to your company's intranet or systems, in case it contains any viruses or the like.
This slide provides an overview of the steps that you could take when you are faced with a third party who has set up or created a copycat website. This will include both the preliminary steps to try and establish the ownership of the website and whether any other related websites may exist, and steps that can be taken to report the website to the appropriate organisations and to try and get the website to be taken down or the domain names transferred to your organisation. Let's take a more detailed look at each of these steps. When you first become aware of an infringing website, it's worth spending some time ascertaining and gathering as much information about the site as you can. First, it can be useful to take screenshots of the infringing website. This ensures that you have evidence of the site's existence when you come to report the website, just in case it's later disabled or temporarily taken down or obscured by the infringing party. Second, you should conduct a Who Is search by going to the address shown on the screen to see if you can elicit any additional details about the infringing domain name. The search should show you who the site registrar is, which is the entity via which the domain name was purchased, the date the site was created, the domain name host, such as a company like GoDaddy or DigitalOcean that is hosting the domain, and the servers that the infringing website is hosted on. If you're lucky, the search may also show you who the registrant of the domain name is, i.e. the owner of the domain. However, since the introduction of the GDPR in 2018, this information is unlikely to be publicly available.
Once you become aware of an infringing website, it is also important to identify whether there are any other domains, sometimes referred to as sibling domains or subdomains, registered under the same web address as the infringing domain. You will want to make sure that you capture all of these domain names in your challenge to avoid the infringing party just moving from one subdomain to the next. This is also important because any subsequent claims filed, either with the domain host and or Nominet, the UK Domain Name Registry, should reference both the parent domain and any other sibling domains. So to search for subdomains, you need to go to the virus total web address shown on the slide and select the search option. Under the search option, enter the infringing domain, so for example, copycat.com. Within the search results, go to the Relations tab. If any subdomains exist, they will be listed here, as can be seen in the example shown on the slide.
Before taking any steps against either the domain name owner or the domain name host, consider whether any action can be taken against Google. Note that this will only be relevant if the infringing website is Google indexed, such that it appears on a Google search. To see if the site has been indexed by search engines, such as Bing, Google, or Yahoo, you should enter the URL of the site as shown on the slide. The results will show all of the site's pages that have been indexed and the current meta tags, descriptive text in the site's source code, saved in the search engine's index. If none of the pages appear, it means that your site has not yet been indexed. If the site is indexed, consider requesting that Google take certain steps in respect of the infringing website. This can be done by making a spam report or making an infringement notification in the form of a Digital Millennium Copyright Act or DMCA complaint. These reports can be submitted at the links shown on the slide.
Another factor to consider when you become aware of the infringing domain name should be whether your organisation is regulated, for example by the FCA. If so, it may be necessary or prudent to notify the regulator that the copycat website is operating, because the website may cause confusion among your customers or clients who navigate to it, and there may be a risk of fraudulent financial activity. If that is the case, it is possible you will be under an obligation to notify your regulator. If your organisation is regulated across a number of jurisdictions, also consider whether regulators in those other jurisdictions may need to be notified. If you're unsure as to your regulatory obligations if faced with a copycat website, then consider seeking further legal advice.
Next, consider whether it is appropriate to report the website as an online crime in the UK. This will be particularly important if money has changed hands or is likely to change hands as a result of the infringing website impersonating you, as it may be that consumers are at risk. In the UK, the infringing website should be reported as identity fraud, cybercrime, or a theft via action fraud at the website shown on the slide. Some people take the view that this isn't a worthwhile step, as it can be a convoluted process and you might not get a response. However, in our view, it is better for the police to be aware so that they can build up a fuller picture of the type of cybercrime being committed. Additionally, this may be worth doing if regulators are involved, as this can then be referenced as a step you have taken. Screenshots of the infringing website should be collected and submitted as evidence on the Action Fraud website. As before, if your company operates across a number of jurisdictions, then consider if you should contact law enforcement in other relevant jurisdictions.
If, as a result of the above steps, such as your who is search, or if the information is displayed on the website, the owner can be identified, consider sending them a cease and desist letter in respect of the use of infringing content on the website. This is a simple letter stating your rights in the content, so for example, your registered trademark, and asking them to remove such content. However, if you do decide to send a letter alleging IP infringement, you should also be aware of the effects of the IP Unjustified Threats Act 2017, which provides protection against groundless threats of IP infringement proceedings. We'd be very happy to advise further on this if you do decide to go down this route. If the website owner cannot be readily identified, but if there is a contact number on the infringing website, consider calling the number to try to find out the name of the company that operates the website. If there is a contact form or email address on the copycat website, then consider sending a quasi cease and desist message via that function. In the unlikely event of a response, further contact details might be obtained. However, note that a blatantly infringing website might suggest a threat of IP enforcement action is unlikely to achieve results quickly, if at all. The same considerations regarding the Unjustified Threats Act I mentioned earlier will also apply to any cease and desist message sent via an email or chat function. If the registrant's details are not publicly available via the Whois service, consider submitting a data release request to request the ownership data. This can be done via Nominet's website and include details of the reason for requesting the registrant details. However, be aware that infringing third parties will often use a proxy registrant, given the nature of the website, and so even a data release request may not definitively reveal the registrant's details.
The next step you may consider taking, and which is probably the most important step you will be taking in an urgent situation where there is a fake website which appears to be associated with your business, is to file a takedown notice with the applicable domain name host. Each host has its own procedure, which you can find by simply visiting their website, but they all require you to disclose why you believe you have a grievance. The type of complaint you will make will depend on the type of infringement and the domain name host in question. The hope is that once you have filed that takedown notice, that the domain name registrar or host will block any access to that website in the future. To take an example, if the website host is GoDaddy, the link on the screen will take you to the page of the GoDaddy website where you can submit a claim for both trademark and copyright infringement, or one or the other. The type of claim you submit will depend on the nature of the infringing materials. For example, a trademark claim could be submitted if the infringing website makes use of your trademarks, such as the logo. A copyright claim could also be filed if the actual content on the website reproduces content from your own website or contact details. In terms of which procedure to opt for, we would suggest that trademark claims are slightly more straightforward, given that they are underpinned by a registered trademark. But for maximum impact, you may wish to submit both a copyright and a trademark infringement claim. DigitalOcean also has a complaints procedure, although it's slightly different to GoDaddy. If you follow the link shown on the slide and go to the Report Abuse tab, you can select to report the following types of activity: a DMCA takedown, trademark infringement, or other general abuse. A DMCA takedown is a claim under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which is essentially a complaint that the copycat website infringes your copyrighted material. The DigitalOcean site also offers a reporting platform for general abuse, which simply requires a description of and any evidence relating to the abuse being committed. This could also be an option for alerting DigitalOcean to the existence of the infringing website. The slide also has a couple of other links to other UK domain hosts, which have similar complaints procedures.
You may also consider filing a complaint with the domain name registry, which will be a complaint about the domain name rather than the website. You would be contacting, for example, Nominet for a .co.uk domain name. You'll be looking to launch their Dispute Resolution Service Procedure, or DRSP, on the grounds that the domain name in question is making unauthorized use of your brand and possibly in conjunction with some fraudulent activity. If you are successful in this claim, which is very simple, the registry will simply transfer the domain name to you or else suspend it or cancel it altogether. Nominet will send the complaint to the registrant, manage the dispute process, and ultimately provide a concluding decision. The process can still be undertaken even if the registrant does not engage or fails to respond to the complaint, which is common in instances of blatantly infringing websites. Nominet's fee for this service will depend on the level of involvement required, but this is usually less than £1,000. Briefly, the process for submitting a complaint with Nominet is as follows. Firstly, a complaint form is submitted at the link shown in the slide, which Nominet sends to the respondent. The parties are then automatically opted in to Nominet's free mediation service. Next, Nominet will appoint an expert to make a decision on the complaint. If the respondent does not respond to the complainant can apply for a summary decision. Otherwise, a full expert decision will be required. On rare occasions, Nominet may permit an appeal against the expert's decision. Depending on that expert's decision, Nominet will carry out any required changes, such as the cancellation, suspension, or transfer of the domain name. If your complaint via Nominet's DRSP is successful, you can opt to have the domain name transferred to your company. At this point, there will be a few additional steps which you will need to take in relation to the tag name. More details of these are set out on the slide.
This brings us to the end of this recording. If you have any further questions or if you would like further assistance in relation to any of the matters which we have discussed today, then please do get in touch.